Anyway, thanks Kyle for filling in. Man, I've been looking forward to this Sunday for a long time. Ever since we found out that we were going to be able to have a speaker from Operation Christmas Child, the Shoebox Ministry, our church has been actively involved in this ministry for many, many years. And we've grown, the ministry has grown every year. We've been able to do more boxes each year. And I hope and pray we can do more this year than we did last year as well. And so ever since we knew that we were going to be getting someone to come and share, man, I've just been pumped about this, looking forward to it, and I know you're going to be blessed today. We're honored to have Elana Nicholson with us, and I'm going to let her introduce herself. So if she just wants to go ahead and come on up, I told her to take all the time she needs. If she runs into my preaching time, then that's okay. I know you're going to be blessed through her testimony. So let's make her feel welcome this morning.
Hi guys, so my name is Elana, and thank you for having us here. My name is Elana, and I grew up in a former Soviet Union, but I grew up with the name Petrova Elana Vladimirovna, so let's all say that 3 times. See, everybody laughs every time I say that, but so I grew up with my sister Yulia in a former Soviet Union, and where we grew up, our house was mentally and physically broken, as in the fact that we had a lot of broken windows and we could not fix them because of how poor my family was. And my parents, they would actually go off and they would work all day long, but they never got paid with food or money. They would get paid with alcohol. And so while they were out working, it was my responsibility as the oldest to take care of myself and my sister. And so each morning we would start off our day by looking for food in our kitchen, in our drawers, and anywhere where we can think of where food should be. We would look and look and look and look, and the only thing we would find was alcohol bottles. Some were empty and some were not, and so the next logical thing for me as a child was to go outside and see what we could find in the nature. And I remember when there were days when my sister and I, we were just really, really hungry, that we would actually climb trees. Anyway, so we would eat the leaves off of those trees. And my parents, they would come home every night, and you could actually feel the darkness coming over our house, because what that meant was my parents working all day, getting paid with alcohol. My dad was coming completely drunk. And when he became very drunk, he became very abusive. And so each night he would come home, and whatever his hand touched is what he was going to use on my mom that night. So sometimes it was the fire cooker, firewood, anything that his hand touched that he was going to use on my mom. The first time I remember that happening, my sister and I, we tried to pull him off of our mom, but the look that he gave us, the look of, "You're gonna be next," scared us so bad that we would run out of the house and we would hide for hours on end until my mom would come and find us after my dad passed out. And so that was just the life that I had until I was about 8 years old. And when I was 8, my parents were caught stealing some items, and so they were put into prison, and myself and my sister, we were put into an orphanage. And truthfully, to tell you guys, the truth is the fact that that orphanage was my safe haven. I mean, I loved that place because in this place, they provided 3 things for me. One of those things being a caregiver, someone there 24/7 to help me to raise my sister. Because by the age of 8, I was my sister's sister, I was her mom, I was her dad, I was her caregiver, I was her provider, and it was just a lot of things for me to deal with as a child. And to have someone there 24/7 just to help me with that really helped a lot. Second thing was the fact that they provided us a school to go to. And so my sister and I, we haven't went to school until we came to this orphanage. And my sister and I, we started our first grade together, so we're about 2 years apart. And through the 4th grade, we were in the same class. And so I kind of started really late, and my first grade was when I was 8, and I loved it. I loved learning new things. I loved meeting new people. I felt normal for a bit. And the third thing, which is my favorite thing, was the fact that they provided us 3 meals a day. Which, I don't know about you guys, but I like food. I love food. I think I eat more than my husband sometimes. That's my husband right there, Justin. But since I've been in America, my favorite type of food, take a guess. Chinese buffet. Well, any buffet, but Chinese is fantastic. I love food, and so having 3 meals a day at this orphanage was amazing. And we had snacks in between. It was great. My sister and I, we lived at this orphanage for about 2 years, and then after those 2 years, we were moved to our second orphanage. And I love the fact that our God is very personal with us, and He knows us. Because if you guys know anything about orphanages, usually siblings, when they are getting moved from one orphanage to the next, they get separated. And one gets to be sent right here, and the other will send over here. But I love the fact that God knew me and my sister before we knew Him, that He kept us together through it all. Because He knew that we needed one another to survive the way that we did. So my sister and I, we were moved to the second orphanage together. And again, at this orphanage, we had caregivers, we had school, we had food, But at the same time, we didn't have the love that we were starving for. We didn't have the hope at this orphanage because as a girl, as an orphan girl, the thing that we had to look forward to after being kicked out of the orphanage, the thing that we had to look forward to was selling our bodies on the street so we could put some food on our table. And as a girl, that's not a future that I would like to look forward to. At this orphanage, I love sending these shoe boxes filled with toys and hygiene items and all that stuff because growing up, we didn't have anything to our name, and at this orphanage, we didn't have a lot of toys to play with. We had to be very creative with what we played with. Have you guys ever played with a game of jacks? Bouncy thing, bouncy ball, twisty thing, yeah. So we didn't have the bouncy ball or the twisty thing, we had rocks. And so we would use rocks and play the game of jacks. But instead of bouncing a rock, that's just not very smart on your part, You throw a rock up, pick up rocks, catch a rock, see how many rocks you got in your hand. It was a fantastic game. I can teach you later on if you want to, I do have to put a disclaimer out there. I was teaching someone a couple of years ago and he walked away with a bloody hand, so it's a rough game, But that's what we played with because we didn't have anything else. For us girls, we've seen Barbies on TV and we always wanted Barbies, but we had no Barbies to play with. And so we had to be creative yet again. And so we would get a stick about this small, it's really a twig, it's not a stick, just a twig, and then we would get a dandelion. And we would separate the stem of the dandelion into 3 or 4, if you're lucky, 5 pieces of hair that your Barbie could have. So you separate it very gently, and then you stick it on a stick, and you have a Barbie. And as orphans, we wanted families, and so we would always make stick families with a mom and a dad and a couple kids. But as kids, we couldn't tell the difference between our mom's stick and a dad's stick. So we would always rip off the hair off of males, and they were just always bald in our family, and that was fantastic. And we actually figured this out, I have no idea how, but if you were to wash your Barbie's hair, that 3 or 4 pieces of hair that she has, if you put it in the water and air dry it, put it in the sun, the hair will actually curl. So you can have a Barbie with curly hair or straight hair. And that's what we played with because we didn't have anything else. At this orphanage, we didn't have a lot of clothes, and so everyone had to share clothes. And not just girls and girls share clothes, no. Girls and guys had to share clothes because there was just not enough. Some of us had to wear shoes that were too small for our feet because we had no shoes to wear. And so I love hearing the fact that you guys bought a lot of grow shoes, which are fantastic, because I grew up with shoes that were too small for me and I wore them all the time and my toes actually started to crunch up like this. And it started to be very painful to walk and I just figured I was getting old, no big deal. But it's because my feet did not have the room to grow because of my shoes. And there was one year when I was just at my lowest point. Because truthfully, by this time, I felt unloved by my parents. I fell in love by the first orphanage where I fell in love with the people there, and then I had to move. I felt like I was a nobody, just taking up space just to take care of my sister. I was just a nobody, just living my life day to day. There's nothing to me. And I had nothing to look forward to, you know. And as a child, I mean, that's just hopeless and very lonely and unloved, and that is what I felt like. And that is when God provided us a small shoebox. And for a lot of people, I mean, small shoebox filled with toys is no big deal, but for me and my sister, that was the biggest deal, because until that point, we've never received a gift before. You know, we didn't celebrate birthdays or Christmases or any other holidays that you get a gift for. So that was our first gift ever. And so to receive a shoebox from a stranger, that was a miracle for me and my sister. And my sister and I, we each got a shoebox. And again, I love the fact that our God is so personal and He knows us. Because when we received these shoeboxes, I could tell, I mean, looking back now, I could tell just the fact that God actually takes these shoeboxes to a specific child. You know, my sister and I, we are completely different people. She's an artist, I'm not. She could look at the piece of painting and she will paint it on her piece of paper and it will look exactly like that painting. I tried to do that with stick figures and it always ends up like cricket or something. It's very sad. You know, but in the orphanage, she couldn't practice her artistic skill because the resources that we had, that was for school usage only. So she couldn't do that for fun. And so God, being the great God that He is, He provided her a shoebox full of artistic things. She had paint, like a strip of paint, you know, you add water to it and you can just paint. She loved that. She had markers and not just like 12 markers, no, it was that 36 or 48 slice of markers. She loved those. She liked coloring books that she got. She liked the coloring pencils that she got. One of her favorite things in her shoebox was red leather pants. Yeah, somebody stuffed red leather pants in her box. She loved those things. She took them out, she put them on, and we'll call them red leather capris because of how short they were on her. But she loved them because they were hers, and it was something new, and she loved them. And she would not take them off for like a week. Yeah, I don't know if she could take them off for a week because of how tight they were, but she loved them, and that's all that mattered, you know? And so when I received my box, I mean, my sister opened her box, and I was actually afraid to open my box at first because my box was wrapped in a colorful wrapping paper, you know, that Christmassy wrapping paper that we have. It looked bright, it had some sparkles in it. It was fantastic looking shoebox. I was actually afraid to open it because I was afraid to be disappointed because I thought the inside of my box would not be as bright as the outside. But boy, was I wrong, because when I opened my box, if you can imagine a glow of pink coming out of my box, that was my box. Because again, God knew me before I knew myself, and so He provided me a shoebox full of color pink. I had a toothbrush, it was pink, it was fantastic, loved it. I had toothpaste, and I know this year we cannot put toothpaste in our boxes, but I had bubblegum flavored toothpaste in my box, and I ate half of the tube before I realized what it was. But I'm still here, and it's okay, and I am not the reason why we can't put toothpaste in our boxes. Yeah, it has to do with expiration dates. But I had a pink teddy bear who became my best friend because when I felt lonely at night, I could tell all my secrets to this teddy bear. I actually had a Barbie who had a pink, like a light pink, sparkly kind of a dress on. She was pretty. I had a lot of pink things in my shoebox, and I loved every one of those. One of the coolest things, and one of my favorites out of all of them, was a small pink pen. It's not the pen, but it's similar to the one that I had. And truthfully, in the orphanage, we had blue for the students and red for the teachers, and that's it. So having a pink pen was very unique. I mean, you could see it has fluffies on top right here. It has a heart. There you are. It has a heart. You know, it was something cool. I've never seen something like this before. And I was mesmerized by it for a while, just watching the heart thing go back and forth. It was something new, and I loved it. And then I had the greatest idea. I was like, I wonder if the ink on the pen is pink as well. And as I press down just to write, this happens. Yeah, I've never seen something like that before. So I went ballistic, and I was like, guys, drop everything and look at my pen. I was the most popular kid for like 5 minutes because of a pen like this. It was the coolest thing ever. I loved it. This was one of my favorite things in my shoebox. I mean, look at it. And I loved everything in my box. But one of the things that I loved, on like the highest on my list, I guess, is a booklet that comes with the shoebox. And this booklet is called The Greatest Gift, and it's actually in my native language. And so these are the books that kids get on top of their box anytime they get a shoebox. And I got this booklet on top of my box. Before I even got to open my box and see all the goodies in there, I got to read this booklet. And it's stories about Jesus, how he came and died for our sins. And reading this booklet, it was the first time I've heard about Jesus. It's the first time I heard what he's done for us. And truthfully, I mean, I read a lot of fairy tales in the orphanage just to get away from the reality that I was living. One of my favorite was Cinderella because she was a nobody and then she became a somebody at the end. Really cool story. But I read this booklet and I thought this was the biggest fairy tale I have ever read. Because I just could not wrap my mind around the fact that a king of kings would come and die for me, an orphan. A child who her own parents didn't want her. But a creator of everything came down and died for me. And I read this and I was like, there's no way. There is no way that could be true. But like I said, I didn't have any hope to hold on to. I didn't have anything to look forward to. And so I was starting to hope that this story would be true. And I started hoping and I started praying. And I actually prayed for a family that would want me and my sister together. And in 2004, God provided. And my sister and I, we were adopted together to a family in Missouri. I mean, we are still in Missouri. So a family in Winston, Missouri, if you guys know where that's at. My parents, they have 2 boys of their own. So I am the oldest of the 4 now. My 2 brothers, just to give you guys a little history, kind of, I don't know if that's a history, but anyways, my 2 brothers, they're younger than me, Joel and Josiah. They both are in the Navy now, so a very proud sister here. My sister, she actually got married about 2 years ago, and she's expecting her first child. Very exciting. I'm going to be an aunt for the first time. It's great. Yeah, and then, I mean, God used a small shoebox to change my life 180. Instead of being on the street selling my body so I could feed myself and my sister, I actually graduated college with a degree in cross-cultural missions. Yeah, I never thought I was gonna do that, but I did. Graduated, got my degree. And I mean, just to look back from where I was to where I am now. I met my husband 2 years ago. We got married like 6-7 months ago. December wedding. It was fantastic. I mean, God using broken people all the time. And he is using you guys to change these kids' life 1 shoebox at a time. I just want to thank you guys for packing these shoeboxes, for changing these kids' lives. Because you don't have to, but you choose to be part of God's plan. And you pack these boxes each year and send them off to these kids who don't feel loved. They don't feel hope. They don't feel like there's anyone in their corner fighting for them. They feel alone. And then they get a shoebox filled with stuff from you guys, and they not only feel love from you, a stranger who packed a box, but they feel love from God. They feel well, they get to know God with the with the booklets that they get because of you. And so I just want to thank you guys for packing these boxes and encourage you guys to pack more, because there's so many kids that, feel unloved, like there's no hope. And with each and every one of these shoeboxes, they get to hear about the greatest gift, and that's Jesus. And they get to know that He is in their corner fighting for them each and every day, and that is like the greatest gift that you can give to a child. So thank you, and again, I just encourage you guys to pack one more box. If you did 2, pack 3, maybe 5. That's my favorite number. But thank you guys so much, and thank you for having us. You're fantastic people, so thank you.